Hello, happy end of semester. I believe this is our last post, and happy holidays coming up. Dr. Deaton, your class has been really fun. It's been really enlightening. Actually, ironically enough, out of the five I took this semester, this has been my favorite. So let's dive into this, guys. Um, the first article that was read was by Juna Rosnan, I believe is her name. Basically, she says that the right to life of the UDH just doesn't exist because that right is directly belongs to the parents for a multitude of reasons. The first reason that she's citing is that you have the right to not become a biological parent, meaning that even though if you were to utilize ectogenesis for the procreation of the UDH, or even if you were to just legally adopt it out, you have the right to not become a biological parent. So by invoking that right, therefore UDH should be terminated. The next defense that she basically throws up is genetic privacy, because that UDH would be roaming this earth with your genes and your DNA. If a mad scientist, as she says, that if a mad scientist couldn't, clone somebody illegally, that's essentially your clone. You should have say so as to what's happening with it. And the third one, it basically comes down to parents' property and what you deem property. She essentially argues that it should be, since it's the mother and the father's DNA, that's their DNA and that's their property, so she should be able to invoke those rights, mother and father, obviously, to do that. Some of the other things that I found interesting that she stepped on and touched on was that, if your birth control fails by accident, in other words, me as a man, if I had sex with somebody and got them pregnant, even though I used a condom and she was on birth control, I'm still legally obligated to that child, at least financially speaking. Versus sperm donors, she said they aren't, but I believe there have been several instances to where recipients of sperm donors have been able to locate who the individual was, and by doing so was able to claim money from them. The next article was by, I believe, Christine Overall. Essentially, she was a feminist who was very, very much so in agreement that ectogenesis was the solution to the abortion debate, but she changed her mind. And she changed her mind basically because of the fact that if you were to gestate into an ectogenesis device, then that may become the default option, which really undermines a woman's value. And so by doing that, she's worried that women may just be forced into doing that instead of birthing naturally. And she finds that to be, she finds that to go against feminist care ethics. The last article we read was basically about, can ectogenesis and regular abortions, terminal abortions, still coexist? There's a lot to be said there, and I really think that just kind of falls on whatever your personal opinion is. For me, on the subject matter, I think that, yeah, both of them should still coexist. Okay, let's say, for instance, you have a child that has a genetic defect. Should you use ectogenesis to bring that child into the world knowing it's going to need special care? What kind of cost is that going to incur on society? The other thing, even with ectogenesis, that needs to be considered is what happens to all these kids after they're born? Somebody's got to take care of them. You can't just load up your foster care with a bunch of ectogenesis babies because people didn't want to become parents. At the same time, we need to respect people's rights for saying they don't want to be parents. Some of them are saying it because they know damn good and well that they can't handle being a parent, and that they'll make a crappy parent and put a child through years of trauma and psychological neglect, and the next thing you know, you've got more mental health issues running around. At the end of the day, I think abortion should be legal. Even if there's ectogenesis, there should be a cause. Oh, hey, this child right here is, we were able to test it and tell that it's genetically gifted. It's going to have an extremely high IQ and be a valuable member of society. Sure, maybe the state could step in and say ectogenesis this baby, but if it's going to be just another one of us average Joes walking around with nobody to take care of it and nobody to care for it, then, what kind of life is that to live in the first place? The UDH may disagree on that, but at the end of the day, we have a population that's currently 7 billion and rising. 7 billion people on this planet. Wait until we're 9 to 10 billion. Food's going to become scarce. Resources are going to become scarce. And at the end of the day, I really think the states and legislation, once we get to those numbers, will change their mind based on resources. Anyways, that's my consensus on it. My main point is the only reason why I really feel strongly for abortion a lot of people are already on this planet, and we need to conserve our resources as it is. We're very wasteful and we're very damaging to this planet. Adding more people to it's not going to do anything for us. Thank you for having me this semester. Thank you for watching. I've enjoyed it, and you guys take it easy, all right?